You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 396 of Podketeers. This week we took the Betty White challenge to celebrate her life on her birthday. A video of the Spider-Man animatronic goes viral, and No Way Home continues to break records. We talk about what happens to the gingerbread houses from the parks after the holiday season. There's a theory floating around that Disney Animation is trying to make Bruno from Encanto disappear. D23 Expo tickets are now on sale. A Figment popcorn bucket causes a bit of a line. And who the heck is Robert Fettucine? We tell you in this episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts on things that we talk about in this episode, so if you'd like to join the conversation, you can connect with us over on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Just search for Podketeers, but we'd love for you to join our growing Discord community. Joining is super simple. Just head on over to podketeers.com/396 and click on the Discord logo on that page to join us, or you can check out our pinned Instagram story and join using the invite link provided there. Before we get things started, we want to take a moment to thank a very special group of people known as the FGP Squad, our podcast Fairy Godparents, because it's their support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers possible. As part of the FGP Squad family, you get some additional perks like exclusive discount codes for Podketeers gear, additional content like the Podketeers after show, access to our happy hour calls, just to name a few. For more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, we invite you to check out podketeers.com/FGP. And as always, a super special thank you goes out to everyone on the FGP Squad for their continued support. All right, it's podcast time. If you're new to the show, welcome. We hope that you like what you hear and that you come back for more. And if you've been hanging with us for some time now, welcome back. Here is episode 396 of Podketeers.
One of these days I'm just going to end up with one of those clapboards. I'm going to find one at the, thrift store or something, and every time we go...
They have those at the thrift store?
I don't know. They got everything at the thrift store.
I'll have to move back to Northern California.
I have
They truck it all up here. All the good stuff, they truck it back up here.
I'll see if I can find one for you. I have probably like 8 of them, both sizes, the little tiny ones and then the full size ones, because when we were making more videos, there was a good 3 years straight where either for my birthday, for Christmas, or I think I got one for Father's Day as well at one point. I just kept getting them from people over and over. Obviously, none of them knew that they were getting it from me, and so I just have a whole bunch of them.
That's funny.
It was great. I mean, I have most of them packaged up right now, but I'll send you one that I purchased. That way, I don't give away one that was a gift, because when I started getting
kids
them,
will be mad.
yeah. Like I actually purchased 2 of them, and then I got a whole bunch of others. So one of the ones I purchased, I will send to you.
Oh, okay, thanks. Just to look like a silly goose.
Save the thrift store shop trick.
I like going to the thrift store. I mean, it's fun. You can look around and touch a bunch of sticky stuff. And
you're with the new gen. The kids love the thrift shop these days. Shopping for the deals.
I found at the thrift store, this is like 2018, 2019. I found a whole stack of World Showcase metal, like decorative plates.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're oval shaped metal plates, and they have the countries on them from Epcot. And I just thought, they're 50 cents a piece. I was like digging through all the bins and trying to make sure, okay, do I have them all? I found 4. Dang. Like, did they only make 4? They came in sets of 4, so I didn't miss any. But yeah, that was a good day at the Goodwill.
That's cool, man. Here in California, I think depending on the location that you're searching in, obviously places like Anaheim, Glendale, Burbank, I think are going to be really good hotspots to try to find Disney memorabilia in places like Goodwill or secondhand shops, because that's where a lot of the Imagineers were located. You know, a lot of people that worked at Disney live in those areas, and sadly, as we get older, we're also losing a lot of those people. We've lost a lot along the way, and so things that necessarily haven't been passed down from parent to children or to other family members end up being donated to places like Goodwill. Then there's people like us that go out and try to search for them, because in many cases, a lot of those items weren't available for us to purchase.
Yeah.
So this is obviously going to be the best way to do it, especially if you're around, I think, like where Van Eaton Galleries is. Like down here in Southern California, they hold the auctions for a lot of Disney memorabilia. And that area alone, I think, is a hotbed for that type of stuff. So if you live out in the valley, you know, or out near Burbank, Glendale.
In the valley?
In the valley.
Oh my God.
It's hard. You say valley. Northern California has a valley too.
They're going to the valley. Oh my God. Let's go thrift the thrift store. I started sounding like Pauly Shore, and I don't know. I wanted. I'm the
Same thing. He's from
Encino.
Encino.
Yeah.
Like most of the stuff he filmed was in Encino, so you got it. It's all good. You know, I'm hungry now.
The Leaning Tower of Chisa.
See, now you've added to the hunger. First, okay, so now you top it off with Leaning Tower of Chisa, but right before we got started, you texted us about Robert Fettucine.
Yeah, Robert Fettucine, my favorite Star Wars character.
So here's what happened. So we're in a text chain. We're discussing some of the things that we want to talk about this week. And we were contemplating talking about the Book of Boba Fett. But, you know, we're not all caught up with the latest episode. So we figured, you know, Mel's not here. We're going to all catch up. And then we'll talk about it next week. You know, that way we have a little bit more context. And autocorrect. We love autocorrect.
It's the best. It makes the best
We
stories.
have some of the best conversations that span from autocorrect. And this was no different, because when talking about the Book of Boba Fettucine, it kicked off my hunger levels. And so now the Book of Boba Fett, or Bob Fettucine.
Robert Fettucine.
Robert Fettucine.
Use his given name, Robert Fettucine.
He's actually going to be the next CEO of Disney. I don't know if you know, Robert Fettucine, the next CEO of Disney. He's going to be coming up on his.
It's like, it seems like a good successor to Jabba the Hutt.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I took a drink at the wrong time. It almost came out of my nose.
The
when you
most
said that.
despised.
You come to
me on the
It sounds like an Italian hit. You know what I mean? You gotta go to Fettucine if you want to live. All works out.
It all works out. Exactly. Well, we are recording this episode on Betty White's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday,
Yes.
Disney legend Betty White. As many of you know, sadly, we lost Betty White several weeks ago, just weeks short of her 100th birthday. So in celebration of her 100th birthday, there was an online campaign called the Betty White Challenge, where I'm not exactly even sure where this started. I would like to give them credit. If we can find it, let's try to find it. And
Whoever
give them
you
credit.
are, you're great.
Yeah. But there was this challenge started where they had asked everyone to donate at least $5 in honor or in memory of Betty White to any animal organization, because she was such a huge fan of animals in general. She was a supporter of like the aquariums, the zoos. We had that show on Disney Plus called Betty White Goes Wild for Nat Geo from several years ago, which we started watching this weekend. It was really fun. But Andrew, you went to go see the Betty White movie that was released for her 100th birthday, right?
Yeah, I just walked in the door from the car 10 minutes ago, 2 seconds before we start recording. We stopped at the drive-thru. I turn on the computer. I'm eating French fries as we start recording. But yeah, we watched Betty White: A Celebration at the theater, and yeah, it was great. There was a lot of Betty White looking folks in the audience, so that was not too many younger folks. There's felt a little young there, but which is fine. But it was really great. It was a documentary on her life, her career in acting, starting out like with her local television days all the way up through, her projects that she had just finished. And it was a lot of interviews with people she had worked with, celebrities, Sandra Bullock, Ryan Reynolds, Carl Reiner, rogues gallery of everybody famous that wanted to work with Betty White. And so it talked a lot about, how she like maneuvered everything. And she was like the first woman to be a TV producer. She had did you know there's 3 different shows called The Betty White Show? They go over that. Wow. And I didn't know that. It was 3 different shows called The Betty White Show. She goes over it in the documentary. She said, I wanted to call the last one like something like, "Oh no, another Betty White Show," or something like that. Yet another Betty White Show, I think it was called, but they didn't go for that. So yeah, it was really well done. And then at the end, after the credits, they showed a lost episode of a TV show she was on. It was called Angels something. And it was the premise of the episode was like a kind of like a doppelganger. There's Betty White and a singer look the same. They're both played by Betty White, and hilarity ensues. So it was very good. It was I recommend if this comes out on any streaming or any kind of video, or you're able to see it somewhere else, go see it, because it was really entertaining. Got to get a lot of information. You get to see Betty White feed like a grizzly bear marshmallows, and but it's fun.
That's crazy. I didn't know that there was 3 versions of the Betty White Show. And I'm actually surprised to hear that she was the first producer, because I thought Lucille Ball was the very first producer when she and Desi opened up Desi Lou.
Yeah, that's what she said. The first woman TV producer or something. I think that maybe she had a production company, but this was, I think, before she was just like a producer on a TV show without having a production company. I'm not 100% sure. I could be misremembering, but I believe that's what that was said. Oh, also, my wife is listening in, and the show is called Date with the Angels.
Right.
So that was, thank you, Tina.
I was scared I was going to say Angels with Filthy Souls.
No.
That's funny.
The Hells Angels with Betty White.
Dude, I wouldn't put it past Betty White. If that was the case, I would not put it past her. Was there anything in there? I know she had a pretty rich history with Disney, especially, once they merged and purchased all the rights to the stuff on ABC. And then she and the other Golden Girls were named Disney Legends. And she's done a lot of great stuff with Disney as well. Was there anything that surprised you? Because obviously there's 100 years of stuff in her life that they were talking about in this documentary. But was there anything that stood out that you were like, wait, what?
Well, yeah, the first thing that got her into TV was a show that was on 5 hours a day, like 6 days a week or something. And it was live. And so she worked like 5 or 6 days a week, 5 hours a day, just coming up with stuff on the spot. That was her first thing she did, and she was on TV for like 30 hours a week.
Wow.
Every week. And so that's I just can't imagine that even being a thing anymore. Like, who does 30 hours of live television besides like the news?
There's probably like union rights against
and it was
that
like
now.
it was sketches and comedy and singing and all kinds of stuff. And so it was amazing. Like, I can't believe that was even a thing. Yeah, exactly.
That's the Wild West of television, right?
There was 2 channels, and so you had to figure it out.
Yeah.
Content. Wow. That's insane. Content creator before it was popular to be doing that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whipping out 30 hours of content a week. So there you go, YouTubers. If you want to compete with Betty White, now you know what the standard is. 5 hours of new content daily.
Daily. Original, not just commenting on stuff, singing and doing sketches.
To the influencers, I don't know.
It's the Betty White challenge. It's the new Betty White challenge.
That's true.
We need 30 hours of original content a week.
My favorite Betty White roles, just thinking off the top of my head, is, well, she was the voice of Miss Claus in the Prep and Landing, on one of my favorite Prep and Landings.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 70s show, which is not Disney affiliated, she was Kitty Foreman's mom or Foreman's grandmother. Those are my two favorite roles because they're like both of her like things. I felt like she was a great Miss Claus, and then when she played on that 70s show, her comedy was just on point. Like she rolled right into that show. Like she had been doing it for like 5 seasons, and she only had like 5 or 6 episodes. She just killed it on every episode, just pure comedy. She was just good.
I mean, she's got a lot of credits to her name. I mean, from films to TV. You know, some people may know her from Toy Story 4. You know, I don't know if people know that she was in Ponyo, you know, which is a Studio Ghibli film. Like, I love the Ghibli films. But yeah, I remember we talked about it when she first passed, that I think people forget that Betty White was a comedian first.
Right.
And a lot of the things that she's in, she really leans into that hard, and she's just super funny in everything. Her delivery is impeccable. Like, she fits into any scenario so well that I could only wish to be like a percentage talented as Betty White, you know, when it comes to doing that type of stuff, because, you know, she's got such a rich career that, I mean, who else do you think would rival the type of career that Betty White has had? You know, clear into how old she was now, or how old she was when she passed. She was still doing TV appearances. She was still doing stuff, you know, really late into her 90s. So, man, you can only wish to be that active and doing the thing that you love that late into your life.
Yeah, she brought it up in the movie. She was saying, you know, all these movie stars, people, you know, they're in these big movies and they just seem so far away, like they're, you know, so unattainable. But, you know, Betty White said, she's like, I was on their TVs, I was in their homes. And so people just like would get familiar with you and just feel like they know you, even though it's just because you're in their home every, you know, week on a show. Right. And since
5 hours,
5 hours since the 50s, like,
that's crazy.
You know, 70 years she was on TV. So yeah. everybody old and young knows who Betty White is.
Right. Especially, I think it always helped that she was just such a sweetheart. Regardless of what I saw her in, regardless of the interview, unless she was talking to Ryan Reynolds, she was a sweetheart.
Yeah, for sure. It really it goes off to saying, like, perfecting your craft, as they always say. Perfect your craft. And she just was, like, good on the start and just kept getting better and better, which, like you're saying, it just was always something like a gem. Like I always said, she's like a true gem to TV, to everything she was in movies, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if this comes out, I'm sure it'll come out somewhere streaming or whatever. Go watch it. It's very good. You get to see a lot of interviews with just a lot of people. I mean, her one of the big interviewees, I guess, is her personal assistant that's, you know, been with her for 20 whatever years, and you know, she goes over just what her, like, the day-to-day was and everything like that. Betty, you know, liked to keep a tight schedule, keep everything, but also just loved to work, and so she was always working because she loved doing it. So I don't want to, you know, spill too much on the whole thing, but it was very well done. Lots of famous people, lots of clips from all the shows and everything that she'd been on, you know, Carol Burnett and, you know, everything. So Golden Girls, it's a great documentary, and I recommend anybody go see it or catch it whenever you can.
Who was the production company behind it? Do you know?
I don't know. There was like 4 credits. Like it was the shortest credits I've ever seen in my entire life. They went by so quick that I didn't even realize anything. Like it was nothing I recognized if they flashed a logo, so it wasn't like anything huge.
I think depending on the production company is what is going to determine when and where we end up seeing it on a streaming platform. Because if it was Disney, or if they were involved, there's a good chance that we might end up seeing it on Disney Plus or Hulu. But if it was another or other companies that were involved in the production, more than likely we'll end up seeing it on like Amazon Prime or maybe Hulu or something that, isn't Disney exclusive because they want to get it out to a much larger audience.
I don't think Disney was involved with it at all, but it was a Fathom Events, kind of thing. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm trying to find it right now, but it doesn't, it's so new that I'm not sure it has so much information on it right now.
Yeah, we'll try to find the information, and if there's anything out there about it being released on any type of streaming platform, we'll obviously post it on Instagram. We'll put it in our stories because it's, this was something that I would have loved to have gone to watch. Was it just like a one-day thing? I don't remember if that's what they mentioned.
So.
If it was just 1 day, right?
Yeah, I believe it was just today, Monday the 17th.
Okay.
As far as I know, or as far as I've heard anyway.
Yeah, we'll keep looking into this, and if we find any information, obviously we'll post it so that you can go watch it. But yeah, great talk, and hoping we get an opportunity to watch this soon.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about films, I think we need to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home for a moment because it just keeps racking up the big bucks, and it just broke another record. Spider-Man No Way Home has now topped $1.6 billion worldwide in the box office. It is also now considered the biggest movie ever in Mexico. And what was its ranking, Andrew? What did you mention when you looked at the...
number 8 worldwide lifetime box office gross.
Wow.
Just behind, Avatar, Endgame, Titanic, Force Awakens, Infinity War, Jurassic World, the 2019 Lion King are what's in front of it currently.
Wow. I mean, do you think that it'll climb any more at this point? Because it's still out in theaters.
Yeah, I think it'll probably... it's only 8 million away. Oh no, I lied. It's I did that math wrong. It's 37 million away from the Lion King. But the one thing that I'm not sure of is because this did not release in China, and a lot of these other films did, especially the newer films. I don't know how much of that is still left to go, especially with pandemic surging and all that stuff again. How many people are going to the movies? But I would not be surprised in the least if this just kept going and going and going, because it's not been that long since it was released. So movies have been known to stay for weeks and weeks and weeks in the theaters making money. So especially when nothing else is coming out.
Right. And one example I have just this last week, I was getting a haircut, and the person that was cutting my hair was like, "Oh, talk about new movies." I was like, "This is awesome," because they were a Disney Plus fan.
Oh, yeah.
So immediately jumped into Spider-Man, and I was like starting to go into it, and then the other person, the other hairstylist, stops us and says, "Time out, no spoilers." And I was like, "What? Now no spoilers? Like we're this late in the game?" And then she quickly correct me and was like, "It hasn't even been that long. Like seriously, count. Like I just haven't had the time to go." And then with everything else, like you just mentioned, I could see this. If you ask me, I could see this still grossing maybe that 37 million to catch it for sure. Is if it even just stays in the U.S. Like I know that's a lot to ask, but if there's still people out there waiting to try to hold out for how things turn out, in the next 2 weeks or so, I could see families going back to watch it, because everyone I've known, at least in my inner circle of family, have watched it at least once and would watch it again for sure.
If I had the time, I'd be going to see it again for sure.
I might. There's a chance.
It's been exactly to the day of we're recording this 1 month since it's been released. So yeah, not terribly long.
That's insane for 1 month. I mean, we actually want to go back and watch it again. And so I'm thinking that this film will probably stay in theaters up until around Multiverse of Madness is released, because the films are so connected to each other that it makes sense to have it in theaters as long as possible so that you have kind of a rollover into the new film. And, like you said, with things surging in many locations right now, people that were just getting comfortable with possibly going out didn't expect Omicron to be as it's been. And so now a lot of people are staying home again, and they're not going out. So it makes sense to keep it in theaters a lot longer. What would you say, about 6 months is traditional for most films? And if that's the case, if we're 1 month in, 6 months is right around May when Multiverse of Madness is scheduled to come out. So it kind of makes sense that they would kind of roll into each other that way.
Yeah, it all depends on what else is coming out and if they need to bump for other screens. Because looking at the box office stuff right now, it started out in 4,300 theaters domestic, and is currently now in 3,900 theaters. So it's lost about 400 theaters, which isn't bad. It's still made estimated today. It's made almost $5 million in the U.S. and it's making between in the last 2 weeks between $2 and $8 million every day in the U.S.
holiday probably helped it out today.
So the holiday weekend, it had another big 5 million on Friday, 9 million on Saturday, 6 million on Sunday, and 5 million on Monday. So it's still pulling in. It's not like it's in the thousands or anything. It's still making millions just domestically.
Yeah.
So it's gonna, I think, hang around for a bit.
Yeah. Plus, how do you think it'll affect the box office, considering that Tom Holland is going to be in Uncharted, which is supposed to be coming out mid-February, right?
I don't know. It's a video game movie I don't care about.
But considering Tom Holland has such a huge following right now because of Spider-Man, maybe it'll help it, or maybe they'll say they don't want to compete, so they'll pull it from more theaters for that film. So I understand what you're talking about. I'm not as connected to the box office the way that you guys are. So I'm just hoping that it's there long enough for us to go watch it, because if we go again, it's probably going to be at a drive-in again, considering the surge that's happening. And I would like to see it in IMAX at some point.
Yeah.
So if they don't pull it once everything settles in, we're supposed to be getting an Omicron vaccine or a booster that will help with Omicron sometime between March and April. If it's still in theaters and I can get that, and we don't have any other crazy variants that halt me going to see it in IMAX, I would love to see No Way Home in IMAX.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the film that we go see together.
I'm trying to look at like comparable movies. F9 was in for 4.5 months, or about 4 months in theaters. Fast and the Furious 9. So
yeah.
I think it all really depends on what's coming out between now and then, really, which I don't know what, besides what you just mentioned, I don't know of anything really big that's coming out soon.
So I pulled a quick list because I was curious, okay?
Okay, good. I got at least have a list, so I don't have to search.
So here's what I found, and I don't know how up-to-date this is, but a few days ago, Scream released. Okay, so we have that. Jackass Forever, which, that's a thing. Moonfall, The Worst Person in the World, Death on the Nile, Marry Me, Uncharted, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Devil's Light, The Batman, Turning Red is no longer happening because that's going to Disney Plus. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Morbius.
Not Mobius.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Huh?
Not Mobius.
Not Mobius. I had to correct myself. I did a double take on that one because that's like, oh, is that Mobius?
That would be the best movie.
Right? Sonic, Ambulance, The Lost City, Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, The Bad Guys, which is an animated film, The Northman, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and then we get Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
So there's a couple big, the Batman for sure. Sonic is probably going to be a decent box office one. The first one was pretty big, especially Jim Carrey. I think the Batman's going to be the one that, depending on the advertising campaign and the hype, might be one to try and might be pushing it out. When does that come out?
The Batman is scheduled for release on March 3rd.
Oh, okay, so a month and a half away. Yeah, that would put it at about 2.5 months, which is, not terribly long. But I can, it all depends on, especially like the drive-in. It's hard to tell because they have so few screens. There's so much turnover, at least the one up here. But IMAX, there's not so many movies that are made for IMAX. So I think they might last longer in IMAX where they just show 1 or 2 a day, 1 showing, 2 showings a day. They don't show them all the time. But in theory, depending on how many other IMAX films or films that have some kind of IMAX section in it, you might look out with that. I don't know. Last movie I saw in IMAX was that 2019 Lion King.
Was it really?
Yeah.
The last thing I saw in IMAX was Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely an IMAX film. And I'm looking forward to the re-release of Endgame so that we can overtake Avatar again because, whatever. I mean, it's kind of a shady tactic, James Cameron. But if you want to bring your movie up to number 1 again, because you were like, "What? Endgame? No way!" I mean,
well,
Endgame
then they'll
can do it
just
again.
have to re-release Avatar again when the next one comes out.
It's just gonna be a revolving door.
The Way of Water, or the Seed Bearer, or whatever it's called. I don't know. And Spider-Man comes in, and then he like hits a building and hurts his back. I don't know.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up. So let's move on to this viral video that was making the rounds all over Twitter, all over TikTok, Instagram. If you haven't seen it yet, hopefully you've seen us repost it on our Instagram stories. But essentially, there is a video going around of Spider-Man, the little stunt show that they have at California Adventure as part of Avengers Campus. Spider-Man comes out swinging the way that he normally does. However, he doesn't make it all the way to the other building, slams up against it, and falls down. Now,
my back.
Yeah.
Yeah, something yells out of my back.
Right. And, this made the rounds as a factual video. And I don't think many people know that was complete CGI. There was nothing real about that video other than the fact that it was filmed at Avengers Campus. The thing about the video is that it looks 120% real. Like,
it's
this
really
guy
good.
is super talented. Okay, so I can understand why people ran with it and thought like, oh no. But at the same time, it kind of gives you an idea of how things can get blown out of proportion on the internet, especially with these, little viral videos and everybody wanting to be the first to post something that goes wrong at Disney.
Right.
I mean, when you saw it, was it already in the stage of this has been debunked, check out this crazy video? Or when you saw it, was it still being passed around as a factual video?
The one time I saw it was on Twitter. And let's see, what did the thing say? I just saw the video. It just said, someone check if Spider-Man is okay. So it was, and then if you scroll down, though, it goes, guys, this is edited, but it's so funny.
Yeah. For me, it was, when I saw it, I mean, it's so well done. I mean, I don't know. I can't CGI anything that good. I'm guessing when you have like a sky scene, it may get a little easier because there's a blank template there. But I think the part that's funny and makes it the money shot is him hitting the wall, and then just the way he hits it is just kind of in this almost like it's a robotic look. Like the thing is not. It's like an animatronic design, right? The original device they're using out there. So that's the part that sells it to me. It makes it funny. I think that's the thing we could all agree on, but it is kind of irony. That's how the internet works, that people don't agree on. They agree on the comedy, but they immediately think this is something that's like really happening. Or I think a lot of people too jump on the bandwagon because they want to be the first to break like the news, to discuss being like, oh, this is what's happening. Like we got to be the ones that break the story because if this is true, the one person that put this video up, if that's the tough part, they want to be the first. And like we've learned in the golden rule, being first isn't always the best thing, right?
Well, I mean, that's the problem, right? That I think we all are guilty of it at times. And so I've been asked in the past, why don't we report on things like this sooner? And it's because we want to make sure that it's credible. We want to make sure that it's right. So unless it's coming from a fully credible source or it's coming from the original author where we can ask, hey, was this legit or whatever the case was, we tend not to post these things until we know for a fact that it's true. We have been guilty of it in the past where we tried to be first for something because we got some information from somebody, and there also have been times where we have been wrong and we have had to make corrections. But it happens to everybody, right? You're right. It is just part of the news cycle. Everybody does want to be first, especially in the type of stuff that we do, right? Especially like in Disney news stuff. Like everybody wants to be the first to post about Disney news. And in this case, the person that made this, I don't know if I'm even going to say his name correctly, and I'm probably going to mangle it, but I believe his name is Alain Bouy. His page is full of videos of a bunch of CG stuff that he's created. Now, on Twitter, it got, like, the person that posted it, I think, on Twitter just kind of reposted the same video. It had the name of the original creator and everything, which is great because you can kind of follow the trail. And people were getting mad at the person that posted it on Twitter. They're like, why would you post this? And, what happened? And I don't understand the hate behind it other than, I think the person that created it was just maybe trying to make something funny. But
it's funny.
Yeah,
it's
but
funny.
I think
It's
some people,
funny. Like
it is, but I think some people might see it as something malicious. And I think that's where some of the hate might be coming from without getting the context. Because if you think about it, Disney has been going through so many changes that have been very unpopular recently. And so creating a video like this can spark people to start pointing the finger and, see, I told you so, they're going downhill, this is the quality they have, when in reality, that is far from the truth. Right? So a video like this can be very, very dangerous, especially in this case, it's Disney, right? They can handle it, it's been debunked, but smaller companies can't survive something like this, which is why it's difficult to bounce back when something like this gets posted. But I think that's where the hate's coming from. Like, I took a step back and I tried to figure out why people were so angry. And maybe that's it. Like, what do you guys think? Like, could it be that? Could it be something else? Because, I agree. I think the fact that makes it funny is the fact that he yells out, like, my back. Without that clip, then it just feels like, oh, damn, something went wrong, right?
Yeah, right. And for me, I think, you can, and other companies, if you would have saw something like this, they may take a huge hit in seeing like their reliability. It's like, let's just put out like Tesla right now for convenience, is that they were talking about the Cybertruck and now they've pulled it from their website. It's not launching in 2022 anymore. So that's like a huge hit to a company that's trying to identify themselves as the leading electric car maker. They can't survive something like that. Like if video came out of the Cybertruck crashing into a wall, right? That would be bad. But for Disney, it's tough because of, like you said, they've been going through some tribulations in regards to, what's on the product of what's out there. So I think people are looking for things like this, which is unfortunate because it's like we look for negative news rather than the positive in this. And maybe what Andrew just said, he mentioned, even though it was kind of like us missing something, there has been issues with this animatronic technically already, where it wasn't that you saw it hit a wall, it just didn't show up. So maybe that's what it was. People were trying to piece together like, oh, look, it does have issues still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the Tesla comparison is a little far apart, just in that I agree. Like, if Tesla, like a Cybertruck, was like driving itself and ran into a wall, that would be bad. But a Spider-Man robot just hitting a building and not hurting anybody, I think is, a little different. And so, I don't know. Robots getting hurt is funny because nobody's actually getting hurt. It's a machine. It fell down. Like, it's fine. Like, it's a Spider-Man robot. It's not actually Spider-Man. It's fun. It's funny. But I mean, you've seen the videos. Ursula's head fell off and it's dangling there. Mr. Lincoln falls backwards and stuff happens. Like, it does. Stuff happens, especially when you're open every day of the year and these things happen. multiple times a day, something's gonna break. I mean, this one was fake, but it's just goes to show that the animation was that good, but also it looked believable. Like this could happen, and the thing that made it be fake was the "my back" comment at the end.
So many people missed it.
Yeah, but it's
so good.
I don't know. I just think robots not doing what the robot's supposed to do is funny. Like, you know, maybe if like a Roomba like sucked up like a beloved pet or something, that would be bad. Like that's more like a comparison, like, or like, I don't know, but
oh my God,
a Roomba just like banging into the wall and it can't find how to get out of the room. That's kind of funny. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
it's totally funny when robots don't do what they're supposed to do. Unless our robot overlords are listening right now, then it's not funny. It is
funny.
far from funny. Right, guys? Wink, wink, wink.
Like, it's like the Geico commercial. Have you guys seen that yet? The one where the robot, the Starbucks. It's like not Starbucks, but he's like a barista, and he goes robot, and then the robot like loses it and shoots lasers like human air and blows up the Starbucks or coffee cup.
No, I haven't
They call
seen
them
that.
robot. It's a Geico commercial. Check it out if you haven't seen the robot. It starts off by if you hate the robot checks like online because he's first getting frustrated by the whole.
oh, I am not
Put
a
the
robot.
bridge together. So that's how the commercial starts. But yeah, seriously, that's kind of a shout out to Geico and robot being funny.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, animatronic technology in general is light years ahead of where it started, right? And even artificial intelligence robots are getting scary, like how good they're getting. Like at CES this year, they featured a robot named Amica, I think, or Amica or something like that. I don't remember what it was.
It was Robert Fettucine.
It was Robert Fettucine, yes. But there was a couple of reporters that went up to the AI robot, and they were asking questions, and they're like, "Hey, do you hate me?" And the robot just said, I don't have feelings. I'm not programmed to hate or feel anything," or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. But it was so intricate in the answer that it makes me think, like, how far away are we from just really seeing full-blown robots walk us around a hotel or be, replacing people on tours because they have so much more knowledge and can answer so many more questions because they have a database hooked up to the cloud. You know what I mean? Like, it's scary how close I think we are to something like this at this point.
Yeah, but then you got a robot tour guide, and then it falls down and it can't get back up, and then it's funny. Like they have to like
it's back.
They have to bring like a crane out to pick it up because all these robots are like 1,100 pounds, and yeah, it would still be funny. Like
Or are they?
CP3O effect.
Right.
He's so smart, so intelligent.
But he can't get up. It's
He can't
funny.
get up, or he always gets blown up. Like, it's funny. The garbage can looking circular guy that doesn't speak a word of English gets away every time.
He gets sand in his gears and all kinds of stuff, and yeah, it's
Right?
Yeah,
It's funny.
robots
Still
are funny.
Little do you know that in those whistling tones, that little trash can is saying, "Shoot him, not me," so he can roll away.
That's exactly probably what's happening.
Yeah.
That guy's sassy, R2D2. Best believe it.
All right. Well, again, hopefully you had an opportunity to watch this video. If you haven't, check out podketeers.com/396. We'll definitely have a video of it there. But, it's fake. In case you were wondering, it is a faked video. If you have an opportunity, check out that guy's TikTok because it's like he's got some really good and funny stuff on there. Like he's got like dancing stormtroopers. He's got Lightning McQueen drifting at one point. Like he's got some really crazy stuff on there. It's really good.
That's cool. But you know what, Hazy? You know what's not fake?
What's that?
The FGP Squad.
That's right. They are not fake. What is the FGP Squad? Which stands for Fairy Godparents, but they chose FGP Squad because, quite frankly, that's way less characters to type out on a hashtag. Well, they're a group of fantastic folks that help us out with a monthly contribution via Patreon. And if you want more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, you can head on over to podketeers.com/FGP for more info. being a part of the FGP Squad gets you some perks, like being a part of our happy hour calls. You get some additional content on Patreon, like the Podketeers After Show, additional audio files, additional shows, stuff cut from previous episodes. You also get discount codes for new Podketeers gear, first crack at new stuff that we release as well. And you get access to a FGP specific portion of our Discord server. So if you want more info, again, on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, you can head on over to podketeers.com/FGP. And of course, to all of the members of the FGP Squad, we just want to send a huge thank you for your continued support. And make sure that you check Patreon and the Discord server for information on our next happy hour call, which is going to be happening very, very soon. We've missed you all. We can't wait to hang out with as many of you as possible again.
FGP Squad, freaking good people.
All right, so a couple other videos that I wanted to touch on before we jump into D23 tickets going on sale this week. There was a really cool video posted on Discord by Anitza where she showed what Disney does with the gingerbread house that they take down from the Grand Californian. This was super cool. Larry, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, it was something that caught my attention, the FGP Squad calling it out like always, but this could be on the general Discord if you just want to join, the Podketeers general Discord. You'll get these kind of conversations where it was from Disney World. They have a gingerbread set up there as well, but the one they have there is, I think it's a little bit larger in scale, but I've always had the question too, like looking at something like what happens to all that gingerbread, and I pictured like somebody eats it or it gets like donated to someone to be eaten. Yeah, right. Cookie Monster status. But the truth, what they have built out, I don't know how long they've been doing it. They didn't share that in this TikTok particularly, but they did share that they break it down, all the gingerbread and all the house, the wood framing, and they take it out to a orchard that they have out there, and actually attracts bees. So then the bees come and they start using it for honeybees. That's right, man. That's what I thought. And then they feed off of the gingerbread, so it's like food at a vital time of year because they don't always have access to food, and we all are probably aware of, you've learned about how bad honeybees have it right now. They're like shortage and getting to that point where they could be like at risk of being an endangered type species. But what's good about it too is that the wood there too, they also generate honey out there. So then this kind of gives this whole idea of not only are you repurposing the wood once they clean it all off, they'll take care of all that gingerbread, but then it gives them to put back into the environment, giving them food, and also making that honey for things to be used in the future. I mean, it's just a really cool thing to know that it's not like just wasted where you just throw away all that gingerbread and that wood gets broken down. It gets repurposed. They clean it off and use it again, which is really interesting. I love it. Someone's thinking it all out. If you ever, like Hazen kind of mentioned earlier, sometimes we question Disney for what they're doing, like, oh, does this really have purpose? And in this fact, you're like, wow, I'm glad this ended up on the TikTok. This is the stuff that should trend instead of a fake Spider-Man video.
Yeah,
the fake Spider-Man video is funny. They both can trend. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
There's room for everyone trending.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, Disney has a lot of environmental initiatives for just environmental sustainability. They have a lot of goals. They have a lot of initiatives in place for stuff like this. This is probably one of the coolest ones because I had the same question, like, who eats that at the end? And I volunteer to get like a bag of it and bring it home because I like gingerbread, right? I know it's not a really popular cookie. It's not a really popular food, but I like gingerbread cookies. So if they somehow made it edible and you could just buy it in chunks, like it looks like peanut brittle or something in a bag that's all broken, like I'll buy some. I'll totally eat it.
2-month-old gingerbread.
Yeah. But given the fact that it's out in public, the environmental, how they keep it and everything, I'm sure that it is, not great for human consumption. The fact that they're using it for this is fantastic because honeybees especially, their main food source is sucrose, which is granulated sugar or white sugar. So if the frosting and everything that they're using for this gingerbread house is the glue and the honeybees are essentially feeding from this, that's fantastic because bees are so crucial to our ecosystem as humans, that this is a really great way to recycle that gingerbread house.
Pollinators.
Right?
We're pollinators.
Yes.
So,
If you like
I mean,
vegetables,
this
fresh
was
food
one of
and
those
fun.
videos that I was just happy to see. You know, that
Me too.
it's got a little bit of a happy ending. Am I sad that I don't get a chance to eat some of that gingerbread? Yeah, a little bit. But, you know, the bees need it more than I do, and I'd probably get sick because I'd eat way too much of it. And, you know, I
This
don't
was
eat
in the
that right
Grand
now.
Floridian. Nom, nom, nom,
Yeah.
nom. I don't know. I saw the video, and the first thing I thought of was, I don't know if you've seen that. It was like an old like video or GIF or something of Oprah, and they're like, "It's bees," and then all the bees fly out.
Yeah. Man, we're hitting all the viral
And everybody's
videos.
crying, and there's bees
Yeah,
everywhere.
bees are flying everywhere. That's a
That's
good one.
funny. Hey, well, speaking of viral stuff, you know, Encanto's been just blowing up as well. You know, as much as Spider-Man is. Encanto is all over TikTok. It's all over Instagram right now. And one of the things that I saw that began to gain some traction was that there's this theory that Disney used one of their most famous colors for Bruno inside of
Wait,
Encanto.
We can't
Now-
talk about this, Hazen.
Why no? We don't talk
We
about
don't
Bruno.
talk
but-
about
Okay,
Bruno.
so let's give him a nickname. His name is now Barry. How about
Barry. How
His name
about
is now
Robert
Barry.
Fettucine?
Robert Fettucine. Yes,
That's it. Robert Fettucine.
Bob Fettucine. Right.
There you
So
go.
there's this theory going around that they use Go Away Green, or as some people were calling it online, Disney Green. We've talked about this before on previous episodes, but Andrew, do you want to give people a rundown of what Go Away Green is for those that are not familiar with it?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Go Away Green is, you've seen it, even if you haven't realized you've seen it. It's the color that Disney paints everything that they don't want you to pay attention to. It's not that they don't want you to see it. It's not invisible paint. It's just something that kind of blends into the background. It's the kind of a very calm green color, kind of like the I don't know, like if you ever seen a fake plastic leaf, what the backside of that looks like, that kind of color. It's like a light green kind of creamy color. And things like electrical boxes and speakers and stuff like that, if they're in and around bushes, are painted like that. The exterior of the Indiana Jones building that you see from the tram route or downtown Disney, that is painted in Go Away Green. So it's just kind of a neutral color that is not meant to hide something, more as to not pull your attention. So it doesn't distract you from the actual themed environments that you're in.
Yeah. They use it a lot on buildings. But did you know that there's actually a second color that Disney invented? Along with Go Away Green, there's also something called blending blue. So they have the sky color, they have like the terrain, like leaf color that they can use. Although it's all over the place, it feels less prominent because Disneyland is a really tight park. It's so small that everything seems to blend from one location to another. But the theory behind Bruno was that his, you know, was he wearing like a poncho or like
It's
a
like, yeah, like
sarong
a
or something?
poncho,
Yeah, right.
smock kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently it's Go Away Green, and we were watching Encanto earlier. It's not. However, it's a fun theory though, because
It is.
how great would it be if Bruno was using Go Away Green to mix into his surroundings so that his family wouldn't notice him?
Gosh. You talk about that would be somewhere in the category of cunning as Marvel, yet as storytelling as epic as, I don't know, like Star Wars gets. Like it would fall, like that would be so, the things that they've bought in these franchises would fall in that category, because that is pretty dang on good if you were thinking about that, like to incorporate into something you've been doing for years. But for the fans at least to acknowledge that it's this similar and to create that kind of theory, that already gives it as much, I would say, of a big calling in it being that close to the color, because people are thinking this, trying to make all these ties because the movie's making them think that much about there's things we just need to find out. It's crazy.
It's kind of like how what we were just talking about earlier, where people want to have a take. People want to have a thing that they discovered or whatever in a thing. So it's like, oh, this thing is that thing. This thing is that thing. Winnie the Pooh and Mickey the Mouse, he cut the pants off and gave the shirt to Winnie the Pooh, and Mickey wore the pants. And I don't know. That was a comic I saw. But it's like everybody wants to have a take on something, which is kind of more a comment on like the reality we live in now, where if you're not making content, you're not, doing something right, which is kind of weird because we're making a podcast right now.
Right.
But anyway, I digress.
We're guilty of it too.
Yeah, I mean, but it's where we are as a society right now. Everybody's got to be making. Everybody has to have a take. Everybody's got to have a opinion and put it on the internet, which is kind of getting deeper than I kind of wanted to start this sentence out as. But yeah, it's interesting world we live in. But Bruno wears a green poncho.
This movie Encanto is so deep to people, and that's I think you're leading on the same point, that they're trying to find these deep ties because it's meaning a lot to people on so many levels, of not just as a movie but as the story relates to them and to what they believe and what they see, in their lives. So I think it's the same same bandwidth or same line of thought. It's kind of there that it's not only you're trying to break this code to be like first, but you're really trying to create more bonds with it because you're like, it means this to me, right?
Yeah. It's just like how people feel about Disneyland in general. Or going to the parks. Yeah. It's the same type of connection. Right. So, yeah, I agree.
And also people have been like just programmed by watching Marvel movies.
There it is.
To try and find all the Easter eggs because they, especially in Pixar movies, Disney movies, they put them in there. So it's hard to discern what is just an artistic choice and what is an actual Easter egg that was intended to be in there.
Yeah. There's some pretty far-fetched ones out there as well. Like one of the bigger ones that I've seen that I'm sorry to tell you doesn't really have a connection, that there's a boot in the background in one of the scenes that's got a plant growing out of it. And so people are saying that it's the same boot from WALL-E. One different boot. If you see them side by side, it's a totally different boot. Could one of the animators that worked in WALL-E have put something similar in this one as an homage to a film that they worked in before? Absolutely. It happens all of the time. That's how we got the intro to the Book of Boba Fett, because it was a tribute to the Parks and Rec episode. But is there a connection between the Disney animation universe and the Pixar universe? I don't think so. Could it happen in the future? Yeah, sure. As the line grows thinner and thinner between the two studios, could they begin to cross over? Yeah, at some point I think they will. And I think there's going to come a point where we no longer even see, Pixar as its own entity. It could just be all Disney animation at some point.
No, Pixar will just be Disney Plus animation.
Yeah, sadly, yeah. But that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, there's tons of theories out there. I guess this would be, considering everything that we just said, this might be the best time to say that we're announcing the Podketeers TikTok account that we are launching right now. I'm kidding. We're not doing that.
I was like, excuse me?
No. We don't dance.
Do I got to dance?
No.
Do I have to?
I was like, here's more plans and ideas I don't know about.
I don't know. I've been watching these videos where the guy goes to the thrift store and just buys things and then sells them on the internet. I could probably do that.
I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot with video game ones.
You could find Disney stuff.
Did you know this Tupperware is worth $25 on the internet or whatever? Yeah.
Nice.
Someone's trash, someone gold.
Eh?
You know what we will do? I think this would be fun. I think if people want to send us TikTok videos that they like, that they're funny, they don't necessarily have to be Disney related. But if you want to send us videos so that we could react to them and put together a video as an after show or up on the YouTube channel, I'd love to do that. I was planning on doing that some time ago, but if all of you listening want to send us videos, please do so that we can feature them as part of that video. I think it'll be super fun for us to do something like that. I know that I have a list of some of the ones that I wanted to share. I don't know if you guys have seen them, so we'll try to surprise each other with videos. We'll try to have a good number of Disney and non-Disney ones in there to try to surprise each other with, because, everyone's algorithm is different. And we'll put a video together. I haven't decided if it's going to be after show or for the YouTube channel. Maybe we could do both. We'll see how it works out.
How's that commercial go? Pequeño nos dos? I don't know. I don't speak Spanish. Why not both?
Why not both? That's
that taco
true.
shell
We could do
commercial.
both. That's true.
Sorry for my butchering of the Spanish language.
Or maybe we could do like a portion of it for YouTube and then release the whole thing on Patreon for the FGP Squad.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
All right, so that's coming. Send us your TikTok videos or Instagram stories or reels that you'd like us to check out. I think it's going to be super fun. Couple more things before we wrap up this episode. One, D23 tickets are on sale this week. As a matter of fact, the day this episode releases, they are going to be on sale for D23 members. If you follow us on Instagram, you know that we posted some information regarding the ticket prices and availability. Just to give you a quick rundown, January 19th is the Visa presale that starts at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. All guests will be able to purchase tickets on January 20th at noon Pacific Standard Time. D23 Gold member pricing is $89 for a one-day ticket, $79 for a child. The three-day ticket is going to be $229 for an adult and $209 for children. D23 General member pricing, if you just sign up to be a D23 member in order to purchase your tickets, you're not actually paying for the gold membership. General member is free for D23, by the way. The one-day ticket is $99. One-day child ticket is $79. The three-day adult ticket is $279, and the three-day child ticket is $209. If you want preferred seating for Hall D23, it is $899 with limited quantities available. With all that said, thoughts on the 3-day ticket special for preferred seating pricing?
You know what? In all actuality, it's a cheaper option than they've had in the past.
Yeah.
The Sorcerer Lane, whatever they had the last time, was like $1,200.
$1,200, yeah.
So I think this includes a little bit less, but it includes the thing that people want. They want to have a guaranteed seat in the big hall shows and not have to wait in a big line. I'm assuming that's what you get for paying $900, $800. Is you get to, it says preferred seating, so I'm assuming you have a seat if you show up and walk up there. Yeah. I don't know. That's not 100%, but that if that's all you're going to go and you have disposable income, that seems not out of the realm of possibilities to me, especially if that's what you want to spend your day doing or your weekend. Like, if you want to just see all the big panels, that's where they do all the big celebrities are at the big panels and the giveaways and the this and the that. So it's, in the long run, not like the worst price I've ever seen in the world, but it's still pretty penny.
Yeah, I think Andrew nailed it, really. Do you have the disposable income to do it? Because this is not... It's not done every year, so that's kind of the argument for this. And the D23s don't always replicate each other exactly. You don't know what the panel's going to be, and you don't necessarily know exactly who's going to show up, but you do know kind of what will happen, and there's going to be some things that you don't want to miss. And if you're in that Disney, like, all hardcore money is available, you want to go in, then I'm not going to judge you for making this kind of investment, because it could turn into one of those once in a lifetime experiences where you get to see something you want to see. So and like you said, I haven't followed the tickets as closely as you guys have for D23 events, because I was not living near Southern California at the time. But if it's lower technically than it was before, then yeah, maybe the reason is this year if you were holding back to pull the trigger and you've gone through a tough 2020 and 2021, this 2022 could be the year where you feel good about, like, I don't want to miss out on this one. And it will be hopefully a better time with, we'll be past this point of this last winter and going into the fall, which seemed like a good point last year.
Yeah, I agree with both of you when it comes to the ticket pricing. It is one of those, if you have the disposable income, fantastic, right? It is cheaper than we've seen in the past. It doesn't have like the sorcerer's area where you can go get your free drinks and snacks and all that stuff like it did in the past. At least from what we've seen promised, it's not there. Can it be there? Can they add it? Probably. Will they? I don't know. It really depends on how regulations are and how things are, with, variants or wherever we are with all of that later on in the year. The one thing that does, I'm not sure if I'm concerned about, is that, you see the main stage, it's set up in like a half circle area for preferred seating as part of the price. But in the graphic that they released, it says not final floor plan, preferred seating section subject to change and may vary between presentations. So I'm wondering if they're gauging to see how popular it is for people to want to pay that price. And what happens if an entire middle section, instead of this half circle that they had allocated, is willing to pay the $900, especially if you're part of the media or if you're part of, reporting for whatever the case is, and you want a really great seat for what's happening. Because I could tell you, if there was anything that I would not want to miss, I've talked about this before. I love going to the Legends Award ceremony. That's like the one thing, if I don't miss it at D23, I'm happy, right? Except last D23 when I missed the Haunted Mansion panel. That's a whole other story. But the Legend ceremony, love it. If I get to watch it, I'm a happy camper for the entire 3 days of the expo. Am I willing to pay $900 for it? Depends on who's being announced as a legend. I might be inclined on doing it, but a lot of the people that I would have wanted to see named as Disney Legends, I've seen them named as Disney Legends. So maybe for this one I wouldn't do it. I think we're still waiting for the announcement of who is going to be honored this time around. But yeah, the fact that it's subject to change is worrisome because, like I said, if I don't know how many seats are in that whole section, 200 maybe, if all 200 of them are willing to pay $900, then now you're off on the sides, or the general people that were standing in line have less of a shot of actually watching it now. You see what I mean? So yeah. That's the one thing that concerns me. And you would think that this many years into it, Disney would have a little bit of a better handle, especially with, conventions like Comic-Con and stuff that have been doing it for years, where they can go and they can learn from how they handle certain things. I know Disney's experimenting a lot with how to handle these lines. They experimented with the virtual queue. They experimented with that last time, which I think was really successful, given some of the few issues that it had. Overall, I think it was successful. I had an opportunity to reserve my spot in a much easier way than I ever had at a D23 Expo. So if you kind of keep moving forward and these experiments continue to add to the experience and make it more enjoyable, I'm all for it, right? But if all it's going to do is make it so that it, in the long run, feels just like a cash grab because they just want to make as much money as possible, then I think it's just going to hinder the experience and it's going to anger more people, possibly souring them to not want to go to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, it's I was just talking to my wife about this the other day. It's like every expo, they've done something different when it comes to reserving spots for panels. The last one was the virtual thing. The time before that, it was you walked up to the counter and there was a thing. And then the time before that, it was just you got in line. Or whatever. So I might be even forgetting one, but there was, it just seems like, I don't know, is this just a big play test for the park doing all of these different things? Is this, I don't know what. We haven't seen any announcement on how the reservations are going to work for the expo as of this exact moment. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue using the virtual queue. Is there going to be Lightning Lane? Is there going to be Genie Plus at the expo? We don't know. I hope not. But, I mean, I agree that I don't know. I kind of like the way where you walked up to the counter and got your things, because I felt like you had a better chance of getting something, because you could, you'd have the people that would forget and go do shopping or whatever, and then you go in there and get your thing. But that's just me being a grumpy old man, so, whatever. I just don't have those fast fingers to get the online stuff.
Yeah, I have to admit that I really liked the virtual queue system last year. And as far as having Lightning Lane or anything like that, you can kind of see it as a predecessor to that, because the same way that you are making your reservations for particular shows and presentations is kind of how it works in the app to reserve attractions. Obviously, it's a little bit different because the attractions happen all day. It's not a one-time presentation, but there's a similar structure to it. So could this D23 Expo have something different? Man, I hope not. I hope that they learn from last year and that they just make it a little bit better, because if ever there was something that mitigated lines, made getting into seeing a presentation easier in general, as long as the server didn't crash for Disney, it was the virtual queue system. Again, it's always going to have problems, especially when it's your first time using it. We've seen it with everything, right? But now they've had 2 years to perfect it, including the stuff that they've learned from doing virtual queues in the parks. So if they continued this and they made it better, I'm all for it. I would much rather be able to go shopping, go have a meal, go do something else other than stand in an 8-hour line to see the Disney Legends presentation.
Definitely, but they still don't. I mean, they don't give you. There's still standby for all of those, but yeah, it gives you the chance to at least reserve your spot for something.
Right.
So you can still stand in general lines for most of the stuff. That's how we got into the Haunted Mansion panel that you mentioned. And it was, I mean, I agree. I think the virtual queue was good. I'm just a grumpy old man, I think. But also the time that you walked up to the counter, it was also less people. Each preceding year was not as busy as it was the following year. So it's a remembering old times where it was less busy.
Yeah, and that's a great point, right? The fact that as each expo has gone on, it's hard for me to say things like this because I know we're in the same space. But when you think about 3 or 4 expos ago and how many people were there to experience it as a Disney fan versus how many were there at the last expo simply to create content, film what was happening, film their experience, blog about it, it was a lot of people walking around with cameras, talking into it, vlogging. We did it. I mean, I did it all 3 days that I was there, and I wasn't even technically fully there on Saturday. So this time around, I feel like it's going to be even worse than the last time because now you just don't have the YouTubers. Before we just had YouTubers, then it was kind of like YouTubers and Instagram people that were kind of posting stuff to Instagram. Now we have TikTokers that are also posting a bunch of content. And with the addition of these services adding things that are live versus just, 3-minute videos or 5-minute videos or 60-second videos, having the ability to go live is going to be a huge thing. So if you were complaining about the Wi-Fi there before, get ready for it to suck even more now.
They got to do something about that. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah. Well, the last thing that we wanted to touch on before we end the episode is this week there was a new popcorn bucket released over at Magic Kingdom. And, Disney popcorn buckets, super popular. They always look fantastic. They have amazing shapes. Collectors love these popcorn buckets. They especially love them when it's one of the most popular characters in the Disney family, and that is Figment. A Figment popcorn bucket. People were in line for, was it like 7 hours at one point?
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
yes,
7 hours. And that's not even the worst of it, right? Because if I really want something, I'm willing to stand in line for 7 hours. We talked about it before with attractions, especially,
D23.
brand new things.
Tacos.
But tacos, exactly. Churros, maybe. But what was really, really difficult to watch, and we've talked about this before, and Disney really has to do something about this at this point, were the eBay resellers. Because there was a limit of 2 popcorn buckets, and there was video after video after photo after photo after video posted not only on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Twitter of people walking away with 20 to 40 of these Figment popcorn buckets. How is this even still allowed for something that is supposed to have a 2-item limit?
Yeah, it is so bizarre that it's posted, signs 2-item limit. Now, I don't know if these people are paying people to go with them and to buy them, and they all get in line at the same time, and then they all give them back, give them to somebody or whatever. I don't know how this is working out, but yeah, you see these photos, people with bags and people that line them all up on the picnic bench, and they're taking the photo of them to put on eBay. And then, yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's a popcorn bucket, number one. That's a big hunk of plastic, which, I mean, we love our hunk of plastic. Larry's got a big hunk of plastic right behind him, Affinity Gauntlet right there, and it's great. But, like, as like, the history dictates, they're not gonna sell out. These popcorn buckets, I don't know in the recent history if any of them have sold out where they go away, especially something that is like this popular. It's been multiple days of these big lines. And I just don't envision Disney doing anything like we've seen in the past where they sell out, where they know they can make the money on these. So they're going to make as many as they can before they sell out. So it sucks for the people that are there on their vacation and they like Figment and they go, oh, a Figment popcorn bucket. I'm not wasting my entire day in line for a Figment popcorn bucket. But I don't know. I don't like this reseller culture, and I get it. People are trying to make a buck, but I don't know. We've talked about it before. It's like beating a dead horse. These resellers suck.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, Andrew. I think looking at it, we don't here on Podketeers, unfortunately, we don't always have the best connections to Disney World. We try our best to get that information, but it's hard. We're over, hundreds of miles away, thousands. So, with that, it's when we see this kind of news, we're trying to put it in the whole same atmosphere. We could feel you guys' pain for not only the, like Andrew just mentioned, the travelers that go there that are on a one-time trip that want that Figment popcorn bucket, but also just the pain of being, an annual pass holder or magic key holder, to be more specific, and going and you see these long lines of people buying something maybe you had your heart set on because you buy the magic key for that reason, to be given the opportunity to go to the park and get something like this, not just on its release day. Because I think I agree, Andrew, with things never selling out and not coming back, but I know things why these eBay/resellers of Disney popcorn buckets and all overall merchandise, they're always trying to get it fast, because I almost feel like it's a horrible culture of creating demand. Because if they sell it out, then it becomes this item that, oh gosh, now I can't get it and I don't know when they're going to restock. See, like, for instance, you mentioned my Infinity Gauntlet behind me, which I will defend. It lights up, number one. Number two, I could hold soda in it. So those are two things I will take any day. This is why. But I do have a zero popcorn bucket, and that has no purpose but holding sanitizing wipes at my work. So that's the only thing I repurposed it for. But when they're gone, they create this demand, and like you said, it's said very distinctively on signs you could find throughout social media that 2 was the limit, and you see people walking out with 8, and it just creates this horrible, like, yeah, you're going to go online and people are going to go want to rebuy that, because there's obviously the collectors that have that want to just buy it. Maybe they don't even go to the park, but I just feel for the people that do go and are Figment fans, because there is a big calling to Disney World fans. That is like your guys' definitely your character that fits to your park, just like the Orange Bird. You know, those are your characters that you hold close to your hearts, and then for this to turn into like a scheme of someone reselling it, just it's a hard thing to swallow to watch. It's just, you would wish that would be more considerate in a way of people just either making a virtual queue. I mean, they invest in these virtual queues for Lightning Lane, which costs a lot of money to people that pay, right? We'll put a virtual queue for this too. Make the limit, you know, and I get it. They still could probably go around it, like Andrew mentioned, have someone else buy it and put the bucket through it. But that's at least one more thing that goes over the limit of you really track that person who bought that popcorn bin, instead of just having like an eye of a poor cast member, once again, putting them in a tough position of telling somebody no when they're relying on this as some type of maybe profit margin. That's a real tough place to be in a cast member, if you ask me. That's the hard part I feel for you guys out there at Disney World.
Yeah. And, you know, the thing is that the old annual passes and the magic keys have a clause in them that you're not supposed to use, like your discount for, you know, resale purposes. Now, I know that a lot of resellers have gotten around that by saying, well, I'm paying full price for it. Okay, but still, 2-item limit, right? That's the part that how they're getting so many of them, that's the biggest issue. At some point, you would think that they would get stopped walking out of the park with, like, look, I get it. There's times that we've gone to the park. We're a family of 4. There's times that we've gone and we've purchased up to 4 items of the same thing because we are all there. But are people really walking in with 20 to 40 people buying all of these?
No way.
Like, there's no way, right? There's no way. Maybe 5, maybe 6. I just don't understand it. And even then, you would feel that there has to be some kind of limit for it. I don't understand it. That it's getting really out of hand. Like, it was bad before, but it's getting worse, especially now with people not having an opportunity to go to the parks because they don't feel safe, right? Like, people are taking advantage because of things like COVID. You know, not everybody feels safe enough to go to the parks, or they are not healthy enough to go to the parks. And so, you know, these things are happening even more now. Like it happened with the Starbucks cups over the holidays, the ones that look like Spaceship Earth. Like, it got so bad that Starbucks now has them behind the counter. And they even have them behind in a glass case, exactly, because people were just going crazy over them. So I understand it. I mean, have we purchased additional buckets in the past? Yeah, but we try to stay within the limit because we want to be fair to everybody. And those extra ones that we've purchased, we've sold them and they have gotten high numbers, but we've always sold them and given the money to charity. We've never gone through the process of becoming a reseller just for the purpose of being a reseller. We've always given the money to charity for these additional buckets, or we've been gifted buckets by friends so that we could auction off for charity and stuff like that. So I don't know, man. I think Disney really has to step in, but because you're right, Larry, the fact that it's being created by the same people, right? The scarcity is being created by these people. The demand is there. And like you said, if people don't know when it's going to be in stock again, you're like, all right, well, it was 25 in the parks. I'm willing to pay 40 for it. Or if somebody says, oh, it's limited edition, I'm willing to pay 50. It saved me the park ticket or whatever,
right.
And so it becomes a how much are you willing to pay if you didn't have to travel, if you didn't have to buy a one-day ticket, if you're not a pass holder or magic key holder, whatever the case is, where does it stop? Like, how much are you willing to pay? And as long as people are willing to pay, we're always going to have these issues unless Disney does something about it and really enforces the limit on people.
I'm looking at eBay right now at completed sales of Figment popcorn buckets. And the highest amount that I have found for completed
closed sale,
it said like $1,000, which I don't know if that's true or not, or if I'm reading this bid wrong.
If you had to make an average, what do you think you're seeing a lot of through there?
It's like, let's see. Okay, no, here it is. A Disney Figment popcorn bucket, 11 bids, $1,075.
Wow.
Sold January 15th. Figment popcorn.
$25 was the original price, right?
Yeah.
20 to, I think it was 20, but it was 25 or something.
Yeah.
In change on out the door.
Yeah.
Plus, they had the nerve to charge $16.10 shipping and handling on. But this one that sold for $810 had free shipping.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, the one that sold for $810 also came with a spork. I don't know what the spork is.
Oh, so they
there's a
also
spork.
released a Figment spork. I think I accidentally said Magic Kingdom earlier, but it was at Epcot as part of the festival.
Oh, they're really
that's going
It's a
on.
spork with just Figment on the end of it. It's a plastic spork.
Yeah.
But something good did come out of this whole fiasco, which is somebody put up on eBay a bad sketch of the Figment
Yes.
popcorn bucket, and it started a whole trend of people putting up these bad artwork of Figment popcorn bucket. It's just filling eBay with these drawings. If you look up, the Figment popcorn bucket, they are like smattered in like every few ones, these drawings. And the original one that I sent to you guys when I first saw it, the original one sold for $10,100.
Wow.
And
There's no way that closed out.
no, it closed, but the
the payout.
Yeah, well, no. So 90% of the proceeds are going to the Habitat for Humanity.
Oh,
Yeah.
So the bids were getting so high. This person
that is good.
donated 90% of the sales to charity, and it's just fantastic that
that is a
something
good cause.
something really nice came out of this whole like popcorn bucket Armageddon. I don't know,
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Bucket-geddon.
geez.
I don't know.
So there you go. You can either get a popcorn bucket or help donate it to charity by bidding on a really bad artwork sketch, which I think looked like
It's really
a
bad.
pig, right? It didn't even look like Figment
Yeah.
or Dragon. It
Yeah.
looked more like a pig.
It just looked like it's
Very oval shaped, very chunky.
I love it.
was
I love
good.
it. I mean, look, NFTs are super big right now. As much as I try to wrap my head around them fully so that I can give an explanation, I'm like 80% of the way comfortable with talking about it, but at the same time, they're kind of dying out. So now I'm in this weird spot of like, okay, well, I learned about these NFTs. Now what?
Yeah.
Now you
Trends.
can buy NFTs,
Right.
I guess. I don't know, and then sell NFTs. That seems like the only thing you do with an NFT is you buy it and then you sell it for more money, according to the internet.
Kind of. That's,
But I don't have time.
yeah,
To
it's a whole other
know
conversation.
what NFTs are. We need just somebody smarter. Is there an NFT expert out on that knows about NFTs? If so, contact the Podketeers
Podketeers.
in any shape or form.
Let us know.
And we can talk to you about NFTs and what you do with them.
So that's where we're going to end this episode. Not on NFTs, but on the happiness of this bad artwork sketch that brought in
That's
over
awesome.
$10,000 and was donated. Well, 90% of it was donated to Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out, we'll put a picture of it over on Instagram, and we'll put a picture of it in the blog post for this episode, podketeers.com/396. It's fantastic. I love it. I love the fact that these were inundating eBay when all of these popcorn buckets were going on sale. But again, to end this, Disney really has to do something about this. It's kind of insane at this point. But anyway, that's where we're going to end the episode. If you want to join the conversation, let us know how you feel about anything that we talked about. You can join us over on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. But we would love it if you joined us over on Discord. Just like Larry said, you can join us and talk about things like this or other conversations that you may have seen pop up in the Disneyverse anywhere else. Super easy to join us over on Discord. You can either head over to the blog post, podketeers.com/396, but we also have a pinned Instagram story with a link with an invite to Discord. So just head over to Instagram, find the pinned story, click on the link, and within a few taps of your phone or device or wherever you happen to be using Instagram, you will be joined up on our Discord server. Anything else, guys, before we wrap up?
You know it. Okay, so we're only a couple episodes away from 400, and so we're just going to take a minute right now. And so if you're listening to this on your phone, just take out your phone and you go open Spotify. If you're not already in Spotify, scroll up to the top where it says Podketeers, and then there's a little star thing, and you rate it. You click that star thing, and you put 5
Stars.
5 stars. And when 25 people do that and we get our rating, then we're going to do a fun, cool episode that is going to be cool and it's going to be worth it. So just go and do it real quick. There's lots of you that listen on Spotify. You can't see it, but I'm holding my hand like a phone and I'm pointing at it for some reason. I'm visualizing
his old man today.
I have my phone sitting 2 inches away from my hand, but I just held my hand up instead. So do that, and then there'll be cool stuff, and so do that right now before the music starts going boom, 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 or however it goes, and then that's it.
But it's already going, so that's gonna wrap
it's already
it up.
going. Let's continue.
Until next time, keep dreaming, keep moving forward, and always remember to pass on the magic. Have a fantastic week, everyone.
See ya.
When the moon hits the sky,
Like a big pizza pie.
it's
Robert Fettucine.
Part of the Podketeers Network.